Hello and welcome to episode 72 of the High Performance Consciousness Podcast. My name is Matthew Patty, and again, I will be your host for today's episode. This conversation in this episode is going to speak to you and the depth of potentially some of the fears surrounding and included, contained within the imposter syndrome. This is a concept that has come up and question that has come up many, many times in my masterclasses and many, many times with clients. And at the deep core of many of our personal beliefs or beliefs about self is this very thing. And that is to be one, to win, to be first, to get what you want is bad because it leaves other people behind. So maybe you can relate to that. And let me give you some specific examples. In the Magnetic Mastermind group call last week, we do 2 typically each week. And one of the things that arose was breaking through limits, self-imposed limits. And reading into the energy of the group, and some might say sort of mind melding, whatever it may be, but is this deep concept within many of us that we have been taught at some point in our early years that to win leaves others at a disadvantage. To be as good as we are, to excel in our gifts, to shine is bad. Maybe you can relate. So let me give you a very specific example. Let's say as a child, you are great at sport, or you're great at academia, or you're great at making friends, or you're great at picking things up really quickly and learning the process. Maybe it's drawing or art or whatever, and you are getting recognition for that. You get topped up, your gifts and your creative potential is affirmed and given energy by other people. So now you're starting to think, wow, this feels good. I'm actually feeling really, really good about my own gifts because I'm being praised for being a good drawer or painter or good at running or sport or getting good maths results or whatever it is. But then all of a sudden, I have a sibling or I have a cousin or a friend, maybe it's even a parent unconsciously. They'll start to say, just be careful of not shining too much. Just give Josie a go, give Mary a go, give Bobby a go. Just quieten yourself down a little bit. Not being so big, so bombastic, not being so excellent. Just tone it down a little, will you? And so what that says is that I cannot be who I am and feel great about my gifts and be loved for who I am and for my gifts and being good at something. I must fit in to the concept that someone else needs to be minimized in order for them to win. So let me explain that. So in that process where maybe a parent, maybe a teacher, maybe a co-worker or a friend or a sibling might sort of say, stop being so big, stop being so shiny, so good, so whatever it is. You need to come down to my level. You need to give me a chance. You need to give them a chance. What you are essentially saying when you agree to that at a subconscious level is I love them enough to forego my genius and to sacrifice my gifts. I have this sacrificial process that is going on. So now my parents, as an example, not mine, but you can say, the parents saying, okay, here's your sibling. They're observing them struggling or not doing as well or whatever labels or terms they want to use. They have now minimized the child. They've minimized the child unconsciously. You now agreeing to playing smaller than who you really are agreeing to the minimizing of your brother or your sister or your co-worker or your friend, whoever it is. So now you are playing the same role. So now the parents, the friends, the teachers, and you are now seeing this other individual through the same lens. Now when we see someone through our lens, that is who they are. So we can exalt someone, we can rise them up, or we can flatten them and minimize them in our mind. We can see them as happy and holy and healthy and vibrant, or we can see them as flat, contracted, uneventful, unmagical. And that is what they become. Because we construct our outer world inside. As I said in the previous episode, everything outside of us is pushed outside of us. Everything outside of us that exists in the world of matter, objects, and things that appears real is not. It is pushed out from us based on the concept of self, based on the language we have been taught, and through the meaning that we give things. So let's go back to the example. So someone has been observed as being less than. So by observing as less than, they are now minimized, which means that those that observe them as less than have been pedestaled, have been maximized. This is where the balance of the universe comes in. Where there is minimal, there is maximal. Where there is dark, there is light. Where there is up, there is down. So now, by you observing and agreeing to the minimizing of someone else, because in your mind you think, I'll sacrifice that genius and I'll let them shine. I'll sacrifice my desires and I'll let them shine. You are ripping yourself off and you're ripping them off. So there's two things that occur right now. Number one, you are complicit in agreeing that someone else is less than you. Number one, think about that for a moment. You are complicit in the agreement and the view that someone else is less than you, worse off than you, which means that if they are less than you, then you must be better than. That it is placing yourself in an exalted state, which brings about guilt. It brings about guilt and shame. I can't be who I really am and as magical as I really am for fear of rejection and failure and ridicule. Because whilst I'm observing everyone else's minimism in a minimal view or a contracted view, I'm actually secretly denying my greatness and I'm feeling guilty about my greatness. But I'll suppress it and I'll depress it. And within that, I feel resentment. Why do I have to keep myself down? Why? And then I feel guilty about being resentful. And then I feel shameful about any time that I go out and I become my expressive self and I stand out and I break free of the lines in the coloring in picture. See where it's going? It becomes a double-edged sword. So the first thing to understand is when you observe someone in a minimal state, you're observing yourself in an exalted state and you're creating a balance in that equation. Now, the second thing is everyone not great at something? Given the chance, given the capability, given the love, given the support, given the environment and nurturing, every single being on the planet is good at something, has a unique gift, talent, or ability. Honor that. Honor that maybe you are here to live your path just as they are. You are here to live your life in alignment and in the highest fulfillment of your desires, of your highest potential, and so are they. We all have a different path to arrive at the same point. Some may seem that it takes a little longer, maybe there's more twists and turns, maybe there's more peaks and valleys, whatever it may be. This is all part of the journey. So you must free yourself from the entanglement that what others are going through is meaningful to you. So if Bobby, Joey, Mary, whoever, Brian is going through something, then does that mean that you need to go through that the same? So you can sympathize or that you can empathize with them? No, it does not mean you should do that. Hold the higher ground and show them through your actions what is possible. And whilst you are being filled and filled up and affirmed in your highest expression, you can then show them how to do the same. Because you are now seeing them as a unique expression of the divine. They are a unique puzzle piece in the grand divine tapestry of life. So when you are agreeing to the minimalism or the minimalizing of other people, you are giving that concept energy and attention, and therefore holding them in that state. Don't feel guilty about it. You now know. Don't feel shameful about it. You now know. So as I said in the previous episode, period, stop. Stop right now. Because whilst I am doing that, I am secretly in fear that someone else above me, concept-wise, is doing it to me. So it becomes a cascading wave from highest to lowest point. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not going to stick my head out of the hole and come out of my turtle shell, and I'm not going to go into the world and live my dreams and pursue exactly what I want and expand and explore and be adventurous and live my life and be prepared to make some little mistakes and run some little experiments. Because whilst I'm minimizing someone else, deep within my subconscious, I'm fearful that someone else is going to do that to me. And whilst I'm fearful that someone else is going to minimize me and see me as less than them, I am seeing myself that way in that moment. Does that make sense? Maybe you need to go back and re-listen to that. Because it is all from highest to lowest, lowest to highest. And we are seeking self-expression and balance through our unique talents, gifts, and abilities. So every person is a triangle. Every person. So imagine that the base of the triangle, the two bases, two bottom points. That's duality. It's either right or wrong. It's either yes or no. It's either up or down. It's either black or white. It's either good or bad. It's either sad or happy. So to be at the base of the triangle doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that we are observing the counterpoint. We are observing the polarized aspect or polarized experience to that which we are right now. So it gives us information. It gives us perspective. So for me to feel happy, I must know what sadness feels like. For me to feel sadness, I must know what happiness feels like, because nothing exists in isolation. Where one experience exists, so too does its counterpoint to balance the universe, because the universe is primed and built on balance. You see what I'm saying? So whilst we are agreeing unconsciously to the minimizing of someone else and that they're not good enough, or they need a little bit of help, or they need maybe a little bit more love and nurturing, or maybe they haven't got the confidence, whatever it is, I need to give myself to them. I need to give my hopes and dreams to them. Whilst we're doing that, we are bringing the same concept of self that we are projecting on another into our reality. So I am now going to observe and unconsciously believe that somewhere else, at some point in time, there is someone more exalted on a pedestal that I place on a pedestal. So now I am minimized. And then you go to that person that you put on a pedestal and you say, hey, who do you really admire? Who do you really feel that you look up to? Who do you feel less than? Who do you feel like you haven't really evolved enough, done enough work, you're not as successful enough? I guarantee most people will say there's someone above them. So it continues to go and go and go, up and down, cascading experiences. So if we go back to the triangle, that everyone's a triangle, you've got the two polarized aspects at the bottom that give us reference and perspective. Then we can go to the apex of the triangle. The apex of the triangle is the exalted view that every single person has for themselves. The highest spiritual attainment, the highest potential realized within the self is the capstone. The capstone, or the apex of the triangle, is objectivity. I can see both sides and I am balanced. I know there are times where I feel dark and there are other times where I feel light. I know there are times where I minimize myself and maximize others. And there are times where I maximize myself and am minimized by others. But everything's in balance. So if I can observe my reality from the capstone and I can observe the world around me, not as evidence that I am living in one polar experience, one side of the base of the triangle, then I can seek to balance it out. And that is why that occurs in families, in social groups, in constructs, social complexes, with schools, classrooms, work colleagues, institutions, relationships. There is someone that feels like they're being maximized and someone self-imposed minimizing, or the other way around. Someone is minimizing someone else and is maximizing themselves. But understand this: if you live in the polar opposites and you see yourself through a minimized lens, and everyone else or other specific people in a maximized way or a pedestaled way, then you are going to live out of balance. And you are going to find that you are out of harmony and out of alignment with your true desires and your true self and your true potential. You are going to fall short of living your highest expression of self. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you didn't realize in that moment, in those moments, that you had the power to shift the scales, literally, to shift the balance from one side to another and find the center. Can you be balanced 24/7, 365 for eternity? Through the mind and through your perception and your meaning that you give to the world and yourself? That is very, very difficult. You need to experience the polar opposites and the swings in order to attract and repel. That's another prime law within the universe. Attraction and repulsion. If I'm attracted to something, then I must be repelling its opposite. If I'm repelling something, then I must be demagnetizing something else, or magnetizing something else rather. You see what I mean? So when we think about playing small and we've got this imposter syndrome that is running around inside of us unconsciously, it's there because we haven't come to terms with our perspective of other people, what we were taught to believe in and conceive of around another's potential and abilities was the catalyst that set up the rod in our own backs. So how can we fix it? Look upon every single person through the eyes of your highest potential and recognize that the highest potential exists in every single person. So for you to recognize it in yourself, you therefore must recognize it in others, because for you to change within must elicit the change without. You are the causative substance, and what you see outside of you is the effect of your causative thinking, your causative feeling, your causative action. So those people that you feel are less than, that maybe you feel sorry for, maybe you've got sympathy or empathy, which are lower vibrational expressions. Not bad, they're just lower vibration. I don't need to feel what you feel in order to understand you, because I see you in your highest expression. I just know that you are where you are right now because maybe you've made some different turns, different choices. Maybe you haven't had the encouragement and the environment in which to grow your beautiful, abundant flowers or seed and manifest the life that you want, because you've been constantly told that you are worrisome. You always get into trouble. You're no good. Maybe, you're too much of a risk taker, whatever it is. Give your highest potential of self. Allow that. Give it the chance so that you can see the highest potential in other people. See that in your clients. Clients will come in droves. Lovers will come in droves. Family members will come in droves. Friends, colleagues will come in droves when you speak to their highest potential. When you speak to the maximal state of their true self-expression. When you no longer give credibility or credence or attention or energy to that past, that old concept of self that they have tried so hard, as well as ourselves, to escape from, to break free from, which is, I have been minimized by others. Because that I was minimized by others, because those doing the minimizing had the soft part of themselves triggered. Because I can relate to that minimizing, because I too was an underdog. I too was bullied. I too was harassed. I too was unloved. I too was blah, 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 and it goes on and on and on. Now, I'm not trying to sound, incompassionate or cold or horrible. I'm speaking from the highest perspective of truth that you are a triangle, okay? Be in exalted form, be at the apex, and observe polarities as experiences. And so for you to step out in the world and live and express and share your greatness and to help others see theirs, it breaks all the old patterns and beliefs that society runs consistently like a revolving door, that you need to be more than who you are, and that who you think you are is small and incomplete and broken, and and life is suffering. So I'll leave you on that note. From me here to wherever you are in the cosmos, experiencing your highest potential and helping others to realize theirs. Dream a better dream. See you in the field.